everybody. You're probably tuning in because you want to know how I got arrested. No, but we want to talk about America. America right now is on the map. America's Next Top Model, that is. Welcome to Do It Like Danny. Today's topics, I think, are a little more serious. Louis was supposed to watch it.
Yeah.
We would plan our evening around America's Next Top
Model.
Wax.
You're admitting right now on camera you've gotten a Brazilian wax.
I actually have gotten a Brazilian wax one time.
Front and back?
Hey everybody, welcome back to Do It Like Danny. I'm here with Cousin Louie, and as you can see, we're in our new interview space. Louie, stop moving. You're gonna get out of the camera. We hope that you enjoy this. It's gonna be some improvements and remodeling that's gonna be had. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Took long enough, but yeah, we're here.
Yeah, normally I like to film outside, but because today's topics, I think, are a little more serious. Definitely, when we were back at my old place and we were just doing audio only, it lent itself to be a little more intimate, right?
Yeah.
Versus being outside. And I wanted to have an intimate environment. And so here we are. I hope that you enjoyed today's show. If you were able to watch the 3-part series, it's 3 hours. Louis was supposed to watch it.
Yeah. But can we explain that? I thought we were going to do what we did with the whole political debate, where I thought we were actually going to sit here and watch it. I brought so much equipment.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares. It's okay. Only we care. I'm going to address something, though. I've been getting lots of emails and phone calls about the size of my microphone. Mm-hmm. And I want you to know something. It's not about the size. Okay? Stop microphone shaming me. What we really need to talk about is Tyra. Tyra. Again, if you were able to watch Netflix's 3-hour or 3-part series on the biography, would you call it? Or like the expose?
It's a behind the scenes documentary.
That's fair. Behind the scenes. I know we've interrupted our normal programming because you were going to find out how I got arrested. But I guess that's going to have to wait because this is more important. Where should I begin? Gosh.
Well, why don't you start with, did you like it or did you hate it? And how did you feel after it was all done?
I didn't hate it. I didn't think it was, cutting edge journalism.
Like new information?
I didn't feel like anything that we learned was new.
Got it.
There's been several. I think back in the day, there was actually an True Hollywood Story that they had done on Top Model and Tyra and Janice Dickinson and all of them, and some of those truths that were revealed were also kind of like repeated in this, behind the scenes.
Yeah.
It was interesting to see Tyra in the interview space. I haven't seen her for a while. I mean, she's been, hawking her Smize ice cream in Australia and DC. But other than that, we really haven't seen her.
Yeah.
I mean, she's done little gigs here and there. And this was the first sit-down interview where we had an opportunity to kind of see her back again in the limelight, if you will.
I think that's kind of by design, though, would you say? She's kind of out of the spotlight right now.
Well, there's lots of different levels to this.
Yeah.
There are, as she explained in the behind the scenes of the Netflix, she basically said, the show aired many years ago, right? Over 20 some years ago, the show aired. However, in 2020, when COVID hit, it resurfaced. Kids or the generation that is growing up now, they were able to go back and they were able to watch all of the episodes. And of course, we've changed, right?
Yes.
With the Me Too movement, with, sexual assault, and with the definition being, I wouldn't say clearly defined, but people being more aware of, their energy, their sexuality. Back in the day, people were still in the closet. I mean, yes, they're still in the closet now. They're Republicans. However, crashing grinder. But, now I wouldn't say it's more accepted. I just think it's a little bit easier to come out the closet. Also, gone are gay-only nightclubs. Now, it's inclusive. Everybody's a part of it, right?
Which you kind of despise a little bit,
Like
right?
I said, I was going to say, not that they're welcome. It's hard to be in a leather bar in your jockstrap and Jan's right next to you going, oh my God,
Or is she judging you at the same time?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because apparently she's never seen a penis. Okay. But yeah, it was really interesting, and it was like, again, I can't say it was eye-opening, but going back to Tyra, if you're not familiar with America's Next Top Model, let me give you a little bit of backstory. So America's Next Top Model was with Tyra Banks, who is a model herself. And there was Mr. and Mrs. J, who were her cohorts that helped her, and Nigel Barker, who was the on-set photographer. There were other personalities that came on and off. However,
Janice Dickinson,
I know. At the end of the day, the program was designed to show young girls that they too could potentially or possibly one day be
America's Next Top Model.
Right? I tend to like Tyra, right? Like, America's But she used to flutter her eyelashes. She'd be like, and so for me, growing up, I was in my 20s. How old was I?
I was going to say, were you growing up? I think you're already
I was already
up.
I was over 21.
Yes.
I was already over 21. And the crazy part is I used to watch the show religiously with my cousin Christine, Dirty Christine. Show like that. And we would we would plan our evening around America's Next Top Model.
It was one of those shows.
It was one of those shows, and you were just like riveted, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe they did this. Oh my God, I can't believe they did that, right? And then there were all the existing storylines. You know, there was this girl got drunk, and this girl called this person a name, and blah, 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 right? And at the time, I don't believe there were that many other reality shows on. And of course, I'm sure Dana will correct me, but I don't remember if the Kardashians had started yet. No, right? I don't
Probably
think
not yet, or maybe they were, but they still weren't what they are today.
Yeah, her sex tape hadn't come out yet, I don't think. Yeah. I love how that's how we use the timeline.
Hey, that's what she started off as, a porn star. Come on, let's be honest here.
Crazy. So, you know, we really hadn't evolved as Americans quite just yet. You know, what we saw was shocking television. However, people tuned in.
Yeah.
People, I myself wanted to see what they were going to put the models through. There was like a weird perversion of like, oh my God, what are they going to do next? Oh, and then it was, you know, very similar to RuPaul's Drag Race. RuPaul does this thing called the Snatch Game.
Yeah.
And so all of the drag queens are required to take on a character. And then they create like the match game, and they go on and they do these different characters. And it's really funny, right? So that is equivalent to when Tyra would do a makeover. So that was part of it. They'd get these girls, and then you would see their character arc by them either, you know, losing their hair or getting weaves. There were all these different things that Tyra would subject them to.
Like we saw with the Brazilian wax.
Correct. And that's also, I mean, back in the, like nowadays, people are like, oh, I wax everything, right? Back in the day, even guys get that particular wax.
You're admitting right now on camera you've gotten a Brazilian wax?
I actually have gotten a Brazilian wax one time.
Front and back?
Well, yeah, that's what they do. Oh! You don't have a choice. It's in the gooch. You're basically on your hands and knees. You're bent over, like you're crouched down, and she comes in with warm wax and yeah. I'll never do it again.
One and done, huh?
It was one and done because I wanted to see what it was like, right? And maybe it was America's Next Top Model that inspired me to do it. I just wanted a smoother area, you know what I mean? But let me tell you, women, I don't know how you do it, because when that shit grows back, it is so itchy. It is so awful. No.
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine having to go through that all the time. So that's why I'm not America's Next Top Model.
At least you're honest about it.
Yeah. So, you know, you were subjected to these crazy, insane things, and you're like, wow, I can't believe that they're showing that on television. Wow, I can't believe that, you know, not that we're being subjected to it, but it was riveting.
Yeah.
We were on the edge of our seats. You know, they were playing with fire. They were in water. There were all these amazing different photo shoots that Tyra took them on as their journey progressed to becoming America's Next Top Model, right?
Correct.
So within that, there were also little side stories of, you know, they were being filmed 24/7. There were no boundaries like there are today.
Yeah.
Right?
It was very much like the real world. So if you've seen that, they were just followed everywhere.
And the real world showed a lot of different things. You know, you were subjected to that on MTV, and you were like, oh my God, this is so crazy.
All kinds of stuff, yeah.
So, but up until that point, I don't believe that we had seen something like this on television other than American Idol.
Yeah.
The Real World was on MTV, which was cable. This was actually on regular network television.
UPN to be exact.
Huh?
UPN to be exact, which is even funnier to me.
Mm-hmm. I think it was interesting on a side note how Les Moon was involved in all that.
So see, you're just all around in this circle. You
so-
followed them all.
What's so weird is like the circle seems large, but it's really not.
Yeah.
Like everybody knows everybody, and it feels very ancestral.
Ancestral, yeah. Like you always say.
It was very ancestral. So within America's Next Top Model, what Tyra sought to do as the program progressed was change the opinions and the views of the industry standards. Up until that point in the 90s, I mean, all of the models were super stick thin.
Very, very.
They were very, very thin. Nobody ate.
You could snort them.
You really could, right? They probably were snorting also. They were smoking to curb their appetite. There were all these different things because designers wanted them to be the size 0, right? And if you were not a size 0, then you were technically a plus size model.
Which is wild, right?
Which is so crazy. That's so crazy. I mean, I would love to be a plus size model.
I mean, are you not already?
As you again. So, I feel as if when they were going through this behind the scenes that they wanted to pin all these things on Tyra, right? But if you take a step back, yes, I'm sure some of the girls went through hell. And I would have liked to have seen some of the models that actually progress forward. And there's quite a few in there. I feel as if the good outweighs the bad. And I also felt that watching this, that the bad was just the people that were scorned, the people who did it.
Yeah.
And then they never really kind of became anything after that.
Which is going to happen, right?
Correct. It's not for everybody, and everybody is not for you. And that's what I learned in television, right? So it kind of follows those same themes throughout the entire episode.
Now, do you think people blame Tyra because her name is on it, where they don't really know everybody who was involved, who made the final shots? Because there's a scene in there where Tyra was fighting with Les Moonves to try and keep somebody on the show, but ultimately he made the final call, and they had to get somebody else to replace that other girl.
Correct. So, I don't think people understand how high the levels of decisions spin up.
Yeah.
And I think it's unfair for them to pinpoint all of this on Tyra.
Yes.
Now, granted, yes, I have a little bit more, I'm a little biased towards her, and I'll explain more of that later. But, you don't realize all these network decisions. At the end of the day, it's still a business. They don't care about your emotions. They don't care. They have a template, and they want it to look a certain way. And that's what they do. And guess what? It works. Otherwise, these shows would not have gone on.
And you wouldn't watch them if they were bad.
Fair.
They make
right?
them for you, and you guys tune in, and then you scorn it later. It's kind of, I don't know, man. It's a little much.
It's also designed so that it's not boring,
yeah.
right? Because if you were watching it and you're like, oh God, oh, everyone's pretty, oh, everybody's right. They wanted somebody with a snaggle tooth. They wanted somebody that was losing their hair and they were going bald. All of these stories had to be produced. And when you go back to it, there are certain parts when they question Tyra, and she says to them, well, I wasn't a part of that storyline or that part of production.
So she was quick to answer that, but I wanted to know, as you were watching it, did you believe that? Or did you have like, well, yes, that's kind of true, but also not?
So I'm on the fence, right? Because I know how production works.
Yes.
And I feel that as an executive producer, you have that title. You're not allowed to sit there and say, I am on the name of the show and I hold a high position, but I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Right?
You know certain things, at least enough to where you make some calls.
Correct. And I also believe that, you have teams of producers, you have teams of PAs, you have teams of people that are helping you and disseminating information to the talent, executive producers, and so on and so forth. And you hear there was an episode with one of the models, Shandy, where there was an alleged sexual assault. I think by the standards of back in the day, we were on the fence, right? Two drunk people, were they having drunk sex or did she not consent, right? And now that we've moved into this timeline, that
There's a whole Me Too
definition,
movement.
it's a whole new definition.
Yeah.
There's a whole new Me Too movement. You're right. Now, technically, if she wasn't able to kind of say yes or no, then technically that's unwanted behavior.
Yeah.
I wish we could have heard from the male model, about that
Something
situation.
At least get his point of view. It's always important to get two. I'm not saying that we don't believe her, but you should at least hear from that.
Yeah, and listen, the boards, Reddit, everything's been ablaze, right? Some people believe her, some people don't. And then you have rape survivors that say, you're shaming her, you don't know. I wouldn't want to have, my sexual relations recorded, without getting paid.
They tell you ahead of time, everything is going to be recorded 24/7. You go to the bathroom alone is the only time we will not follow. But if two people go to the bathroom, well, then you're not alone anymore. Why do you think it's okay for them to film everything? Or do you feel like they shouldn't be allowed to film everything?
Well, that's a hard question, right? I shouldn't say it's a hard question. It's a very simple one, I should say. You sign away your life. When you sign those contracts, those non-disclosure agreements, there's no rules.
How many did you sign?
Oh my God, I've signed so many of them. I mean, especially with the Tyra Banks show, which I worked on. You sign because we would get information about America's Next Top Model. And so we would have to sign all of these NDAs in addition to sometimes our actual contract. Now, of course, obviously, as the seasons went on, all of it was incorporated into our contract, which we had to renew every 3 months. Like, it was very cutthroat. Television is extremely cutthroat. It changes you, right? It changes you. And so I understand what these girls went through because in that moment, Tyra Banks was at her pinnacle of her career, right? She had the talk show. She had America's Next Top Model. Even when I worked at the talk show, the girls that came there were dressed to beyond the nines. Hair, makeup, heels, clothes. It was crazy. They wanted to be discovered.
Yeah.
They were so enamored with her. I mean, they hung on every single word. These girls coming, they didn't want to see who the celebrity was on. They didn't care that P. Diddy was on. They didn't care that Beyonce was on. They wanted to get to Tyra. And so when I was on that side, and then to hear the stories of the girls on this side, I feel for them.
Yeah.
I believe in Tyra's mind, she was changing lives. She created America's Next Top Model, and for whatever it was in that moment, in that point in time, she was changing lives. She highlighted so many careers of other models. She brought to light, as I said before, plus size models and short models. Tyra really tried to break those industry standards. Now, because it's a television show, and we previously talked about Mrs. J, Mr. J, all of them combined together created that magic, right?
Yeah.
We watched it to hear what Mrs. J was going to say.
Yeah, we wanted to know, let's be honest.
Yeah, and then there was Janice Dickinson, right, who you mentioned earlier. And then when she came on the scene, she was so polarizing because of the things that were coming out of her mouth, right? She's too fat. She's got too many teeth.
Her ass is too wide, and she would use those words.
Yeah. But what's crazy is it sounds crazy coming from Janice, right? But at the end of the day, that's how those people spoke.
Well, not to mention, she would have known. She had been a part of that. She probably heard a lot of that, and she was just repeating what the industry was going to give these kids. Or these girls, I should say.
Correct.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, and you've heard this before, when one of the girls said, it's not America's next best friend, it's
America's Next Top Model.
And the whole point of it, just like American Idol, just like all the other reality TV shows, the point was to get these girls to win and to work.
And to get ready for what was coming if they, would be picked.
Correct. Now, were some of the competitions a little far-fetched? Maybe.
Yeah. If
Right?
it's TV, come on. It's always going to be far-fetched.
But at the end of the day, they stem from somewhere.
Yeah.
Tyra probably was subjected to water. Tyra was probably subjected to fire. There's all these different things that they had to put their bodies into particular positions to get those shots.
Yes.
So, a lot of insanity went into it, but it was, like I said, it was great to watch. So backstory into how I came about to work.
How she changed your life?
How she came in with the Tyra Banks. So I had worked at Ellen for, on and off for 4 years. I was also working at the Cheesecake Factory at the time. I was doing both. I was doing double duty, and I was having a great time. I still myself hadn't really, I had never thought of jumping both feet into television. And I was just tired of Cheesecake Factory, and I had my drama with them there. And it came up that I went back to Ellen. And when I went back to Ellen, in the universe of universe and things that are meant for you in the world, my boss at the time said, hey, I submitted your information to the Tyra Banks show. And I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. Okay, great.
You're like, I didn't ask for that, but all right. For what position though?
Oh, that's the best part, right? So this is where it gets interesting. So there I was, Danny Little Verdugo. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. I had no idea what the interview was for. I made the appointment with Stuart, one of my executive in charge of production, and I went in. I didn't ask any questions. I was so naive. So I understand how these girls kind of didn't know what they were getting into, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to compare myself to them, but it's always about me, so why not, right? And so I didn't know what was going on. I knew that I had an interview, and because I didn't ask questions, I went into my interview. I hate the word. I assumed it was for a PA position, which is that's what I was. That was the position that I held at Ellen.
Yeah.
So I just assumed it was for that same position. I never asked questions. I never, right? I just went in and I went in naively. I went into my meeting and I sat there, and Rachel was in there, Alex Duda was in there, and John Redmond was missing, right?
What about Mrs. J? Was she there?
No, they were there.
Did they go, your ass is too wide?
Right? But, back then I was thinner. I dressed up, and I had my little, tie on and all my buttoned up. I looked good. And I went in there, and I don't remember how it came up, but the Cheesecake Factory came up. And literally my interview was almost an hour long of just Cheesecake Factory questions. They all wanted to know. Not once did they ask about, what do you do at Ellen? Or what do you do? It was all about the Cheesecake Factory and what I did there at the Cheesecake Factory.
So then the Cheesecake Factory really was at its pinnacle, like he says.
Yeah. It was back in the day, on a side note, back in the day, to wear all those whites, people knew who you were.
Oh, yeah.
You made money. I mean, it was hand over fist. It was crazy. But now, unfortunately, listen, God bless the brand. It's just too saturated.
It's taken down, yeah.
It's too saturated. They're everywhere now. They have a rewards loyalty program.
Yikes.
It's that's Chili's,
Yep.
and it's so sad because back in the day, Cheesecake Factory was absolutely amazing. The food was impeccable.
Okay, back to Tyra, though.
Okay, sorry. I'm making myself hungry. And so... in that meeting, it was great. It was wonderful. My future boss, Stuart, said to me, don't take any other meetings. I'm not supposed to say anything. Please don't take any other meetings. Wow. And of course, in television, you lie. You lie about everything. You fake it till you make it.
Oh, yeah.
I say lie, but they say fake it till you make it. That just means you're lying, right? No matter how you try to sugarcoat it, you're a liar.
So when you left, did you automatically go, oh, I got this?
No. I still didn't know what it was for. I had gone into this, and as I was walking out, Stuart, who's my future boss, he actually said to me, he said, please don't take anything else. Do you have other meetings? And of course, in television, you're like, yeah, I have other meetings. I have 2 more appointments today. And he was so wonderful to me. I could never say an unkind word about Stuart at all whatsoever. I don't know how he felt about me. I later found out, but before at the time, I didn't know how he felt about me and that interview and that entire thing. Because for me, it was a whirlwind. I went in. I wasn't even enamored that it was the Tyra Banks show. It was more like, wow. I'm not going to work at the Cheesecake Factory anymore, potentially. Like, Ellen was a great place to
Stepping
start
stone,
me
yeah.
off. But at the end of the day, here's another opportunity. And it was because of my work, my personality. They wanted to have an interview with me. And then I went to my car. While I was in my car, he literally said to me, he goes, "Can you come back?"
Wow.
And I was like, okay, let me go back inside. And that was when they made my first offer.
Wow.
I still didn't know what the position was for.
How did you feel? When you got that offer, was it like, oh shit, this is real? Like, because, you know, for people at home, for people like me, I'm never going to go through that. So how did you feel? I want to know.
No, you never know that. You never know. We could offer you here something, Louis. You could be offered a contract here at Do It Like Danny Productions. You never know. You never know. You know, again, it was a whirlwind. I didn't know who to call. I didn't know who I knew to find out. What I did know at the end of the day was never accept the first offer. And so I went in and he pushed a piece of paper. I revealed it and I was like, okay, cool, right on. That's definitely way more than I was making at the Cheesecake Factory, right? And Ellen.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, great. You know, I'm going to take this. I'm going to run some numbers on my end. And I'll get back to you. And he was like, well, we really need to fill this position. Like, there's a lot going on, blah, blah, blah. And again, at that moment, you would have thunk in my mind, what does this entail? Like, what are the pros?
So you were more involved with how much am I going to make first before I ask any of these questions?
I didn't even know what the position paid because I didn't even know what I was going to be doing.
So they could have offered you a position as a host and you would have never known. You would have been in front of the camera like,
I would have never known. I swear to goodness, I would have never known. That's how naive. And I know that, like, you know, you see me and you're like, oh, Danny knows everything. He's just so amazing and wonderful. But no, that's not true. I was very naive back in the day. And I mean, shocking, right? Dana's going to be like, yeah, right. Shut the beep up. So I walked out of there and I was like, oh my God, I was elated. Oh my God, this is so crazy. I could potentially be a PA at the Tyra Banks show, right? So the next morning, I got a new offer. I got an email and Stuart was like, we really need to fill this position. What's the number that we need to meet, right, at? And I had a coordinator, her name was Christina, that I had worked with at Ellen, and I was like, I don't know what position it is. She's like, you didn't ask? Everyone was like, you didn't ask? Like, are you an idiot? Like, you're so stupid, right? And I go, I think it's for a PA. And I go, but I don't know what the number. She's like, well, these are the numbers. And she's like, always aim higher because they're always going to lowball you.
Always.
So I said, okay, all right. So Stuart sent me an email, and I believe there's a number, or did he call me? I can't remember. It was long ago. And offered me and said, what's the number that we need to get at? I threw a number and he said, I'll call you right back. He came back lower, but it was higher than the first two offers, right? So this is kind of fun because it's like, oh my God, it's like Vegas.
So you made your dad proud.
Yeah, right.
The creator's going to be proud about this story.
Shit, here we go. Oh my God, the creator.
You got the bullshit gene.
Oh my God, yeah. Talk about, let me tell you, on that particular day, I can honestly say I channeled my father's bullshit and I bullshitted my way through that.
For better or for worse.
Right? Not knowing. So I said yes to that number. He said, you start tomorrow.
Wow, that fast, huh?
It was beyond. And it was great because Ellen was also ending their
season?
production season, and they were going to go into hiatus. And my boss was like, yeah, no problem. Go right ahead.
So you just ripped off the whites like a one tear, and then you just pulled on a blazer?
I went right into the Tyra Banks show.
Yeah.
I became I'm sorry. I wouldn't even say I became. I got a position on the Tyra Banks show. Again, I still didn't know what I was doing. So I'm an idiot because, of course, I didn't ask. I show up the next day. This is your parking spot. And I was like, oh, my God, that's amazing. That's great. All right. And they go, this is your office. It's temporary, but it'll allow you. This is your computer. This is everything. And I was like, Okay, great, right? Thank you so much. This is your own phone line, and this will remain your phone line through the entire production once even we move you. And I'm like,
All
okay,
right, yeah.
great, right? I sat in my office for 45 minutes, and I think I just stared at my computer, and I was like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, this isn't a PA position. The light bulbs were not going off in my head, right? Stuart comes in, he's like, he puts a big stack on my desk. He's like, do you know what you need to do? And he's like, we should schedule a meeting, right? And this is when I began to learn that when you schedule meetings, you schedule a meeting about a meeting about a meeting, and then there's another meeting about that meeting.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a lot of meetings about meetings, and then the next day it's a recap, right?
Do you remember what we
And then
met
by
about?
1 o'clock, it changes. So then there's a new meeting because there's a new update to changes.
Yeah.
Welcome to television.
Oh, yeah. Everything changes.
Everything changes. Nothing is ever forever set in stone. And when people tell you that's how we're going to do it, you should probably never, ever, ever assume that it's going to be the same way that it was said in the meeting. It always changes.
Yeah.
Even right up to being live, it changes. So Stuart was wonderful. Stuart was amazing because he tour guided me in the best way that I could ever possibly imagine. He was such an amazing executive in charge of production. For me personally, he really cultivated me. He helped me. Again, I still didn't know what the position was for until later that afternoon. So I'm filling out my hire paperwork and I'm putting my stuff in there. And I had to call him. I said, Stuart, what's the position?
So you got hired. You got the offer that you were looking for.
God. I was already working.
You're already working there. You're sitting in the office. You got these stacks. You got meetings. You probably had a team already. And you're like, okay, now's the time I should ask, what the fuck am I doing here?
And he said, you are the audience producer. And I think you could have heard like this inhale of my aura, my body. I think I just kind of like stepped outside of my body and I was like, oh my God, I have producer in my title, which in television people fight for.
Yeah.
People throw their best friends under the bus for a producer title.
And here you were just flying off the seat of your pants.
Not talking about the Cheesecake Factory, right? And in that moment, I was like, oh my God. It kind of sank in. It was very heavy. And then here comes Stuart. Okay, well, here's what we have going on. And my first day, I probably worked like 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
Which is fine because that's the production. That's the nature
Yeah.
of television. You work 12, 16 hours. And we were beginning season 2. And it was the buildup. They had gotten rid of a lot of people. They had cleaned house. So it was brand new. Everything was going to be, fresh, new blood, new energy. Stuart was brand new. And it was really neat. And because people have asked me before, how did Tyra even find out, right? Or the Tyra production is because at that time, the Ellen DeGeneres show and the Tyra Banks show were produced by the same production company. So again, it goes back to, it's not really what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
That's how it works out.
Yeah.
So Stuart told me I was the audience producer. And then again, going back to the big stack of applications, because back in that day, people applied, right? In person.
With paper.
With paper.
Mhm.
It was a stack. And I went through and I called people and he goes, this is your budget. I got to work with budgets. And so the interesting part was it wasn't super foreign to me because at Cheesecake Factory, we worked with budgets. At Cheesecake Factory, we worked with all sorts of different systems that had to be put in place.
That's why they asked you all those questions, which is probably why you got hired.
Probably,
Yeah.
right? And I was part management at Cheesecake Factory. So
They already knew that you could do it.
and not to mention, I was very flexible. I opened so many restaurants with Cheesecake, including new ventures, which was the Disney Quest, which was in Florida. I was used to, again, that environment of, we're going to say it's this way, but it's going to change tomorrow, right? And that went with everything in the Cheesecake Factory. And that's not necessarily a negative. It's because they always wanted it to be the best.
Yeah.
And the same thing with television production. They always want it to be the best. In a little bit of a different way, though. In a more manipulative and, not to talk bad, because the television industry has been a blessing for me. And it's been amazing and wonderful and exposed me to so many different things. But there is a dark side.
Oh yeah, I mean we're
There's a
seeing
dark
with the
side.
Epstein files. Anyways,
Oh, yeah. Was that televised?
I don't know yet.
I didn't know that was televised. And so going back to the whole Stewart, my relationship with him grew because I was asking him questions. He was fine. He really helped funnel me. I hired some of my staff. I brought Christina from the Ellen DeGeneres show to the Tyra Banks show with me, and we shot season 2 here in Los Angeles. After we ended season 2, I remember because I was actually living with Christina, my cousin, and I got a phone call a week later.
How did you feel at this moment? Like, were you frightened? Were you like,
I was like, I know how television works. I was absolutely terrified. I was terrified because I was like, oh my God, I'm going to get fired. I'm going to get fired. I did a terrible job. I did a terrible job. Stewart called me and he asked me, hey, how's it going? There was small talk. And then he said to me, well, Danny, we have good news and we have bad news. And I said to him, well, you'll have to find out next week.
That's good.
I hope that you enjoyed today's episode. There's so much more.
We're giving you all the juicy details, the behind the scenes stuff.
And just remember, on Do It Like Danny, we will see you next week.